The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. The Pool Guy Podcast Show. Yeah!
Hi, welcome to the Pool Guy Podcast Show. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about the Hayward pHin, which is going offline actually today. So if you have a Hayward pHin, you're no longer going to be able to access the app or any of the readings, and the pHin has basically become an expensive paperweight. So I'm going to go over some reasons why the pHin has failed, and some things to look for when you're buying a pool product. And if you're a manufacturer, just acquiring companies just to acquire them is not always smart business. Pool Service Pro, open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Also receive priority service, enhanced rebate programs, a discount on your general liability insurance through SPA, a discount on your pool routing software through Skimmer, and an opportunity to co-brand with Leslie's on your social media, website, truck, and more. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro. So the Hayward pHin was a smart monitor. A smart monitor basically is a device that floats in the pool and it gives you some readings of the pool chemistry. Now the pHin would give you the pH, the ORP, and the water temperature. So it was kind of limited in the readings it would give you. And I think some of the failure points of the pHin were the price point. The price point was like $250. I think at the beginning it was over $300 to buy the pHin. So to get those readings in your pool for $300 seems kind of expensive. And then they added a $99 annual subscription fee to keep the pHin active so you'd be able to see the readings. Another problem I think was the app itself. The readings would appear in like a graph chart. And if you look at the thumb here of this YouTube video, I have the screen from the pHin, from the Blue Riot, and from the Sutro. And you can see the difference. The pHin is the one on the left, and then you have the Blue Riot in the middle, and then you have the Sutro to the right. And you can see how much easier it is to read the readings in the Fluidra, Blue Riot, and the Sutro unit over the pHin. So there was a lot of problems with the pHin. So let me back up, and I'll talk to you about the history of the pHin, and why I think Hayward acquired it, and what they were thinking with getting the pHin device under the Hayward umbrella of products. So the pHin started around 2014 when the idea was formulated. The name of the parent company was Connected Yard, and they came up with this idea for the smart monitor. I'm actually going to read it from the pHin site. Probably the pHin site will probably go away, but they have an article about celebrating the 5-year history of the pHin. So in 2015 was when the pHin first had their pre-orders and you can order the device. And it was quite revolutionary back then because 6 years ago, getting something that can monitor your pool and give you these readings was not really something that was prevalent on the market. So pHin was one of the first ones. It's the white oblong looking object, and it's larger than it actually looks in the photo, and it works really well actually. The readings I thought were accurate, and I didn't have any problems with the pH and ORP readings in my pool. But there's another problem with ORP, and I'll go into that in a bit here once I finish the history of the pHin. And then in 2018 in April, Hayward, I think April 10th, Hayward acquired pHin. I've heard different reports. I don't think it's ever been written how much they paid for it, but I've heard somewhere around $50 million, since it was about $7 million to start it up. I think that's the logical price to pay for it. Maybe even more than that. I'm not sure exactly how much they paid. And what was Hayward's thinking behind the pHin? I really can't say. You know, if I was in the board meeting and they were talking about acquiring the pHin, and Hayward is an equipment manufacturer. Now I know that Pentair was starting to get some kind of smart monitors in some of their systems, and maybe they thought this would be a way to jump over them or leapfrog them and beat the competition. But I think if you do any research into corporations, and if you read the book Good to Great, acquiring companies just to acquire them is not how you expand your business. And I think pHin was way out there in left field for Hayward. First of all, it's a device that reads the pool readings, and it's almost like a mail order chemical company. So it was set up so that when your pool needed pH down or pH up, or if the ORP was low and you needed chlorine, you would be able to go into the fin monitor, and originally they would actually deliver chemicals to your house, and you would have like little packets of shock and pH up or pH down, which was the original concept. And I think Hayward thought that if they acquired pHin, they can break into maybe the chemical industry and deliver chemicals to customers. I'm not sure what was behind it. I mean, for an equipment manufacturer to dabble in, chemical sales, to me doesn't make any sense, because there are, companies that make chemicals and distribute them. So to get into that market didn't make any sense to me. The other end of it was the smart monitor part. If they just wanted it for the smart monitor and to sell to customers under the Hayward brand so that they would sell a lot of these units, and maybe to make money on the annual subscription, it would take a lot of sales and a lot of monthly subscriptions to make up for the price they paid for it. And that's just not sustainable. If you know anything about the industry, what drives it is the price point. And consumers are really, concerned about the price. Well, not all the consumers, but a lot of them are. So I'm always getting emails saying, what's the most affordable robotic pool cleaner I can buy for my pool? Or what's the cheapest suction side cleaner I can get? Or what's the most affordable pool pump? And so that word, affordable, cheap, is something that's in the industry because pool products are notoriously expensive and everyone's looking for a way to save money. So to have this device and selling it for, I think they started at $300, $299, and then the price dropped slightly, and then having the $100 subscription, it's just not logical and not sustainable in an industry where everyone's looking for a price break and a better deal on something. Now, if Hayward was banking on the convenience factor of having your pH and ORP being accessible and the water temperature, maybe that was something that was brought up in the board meeting, saying that, hey, customers want to do less water testing, and the pHin will eliminate them going out there and doing weekly testing. However, the device also has a camera where you scan in a test strip that they make to give you the other readings that aren't done by the pHin, which kind of defeats the purpose of making a device where the customer doesn't need a test kit or a test strip to get the readings. So the whole concept of the pHin was kind of a mixed bag. You had the ORP and the pH and temperature reading, and then you had to scan in a test strip for the rest of the readings. So it was like an expensive test kit that floated in your pool, basically. And I thought the concept was okay, and maybe it had legs. But the main thing that Hayward probably didn't realize, and they didn't bring any experts in maybe to talk about this before they acquired the company, is that ORP is really a foreign way to measure the sanitizer in the pool, or to determine if the water is safe to swim in the United States. Maybe in Europe and other countries, ORP is more acceptable. But here, ORP is like a foreign term. I bet if you were to ask 100 customers walking into a pool store what ORP is, they wouldn't know. If you asked the manager at the pool store, they wouldn't know. Maybe half the pool guys or more don't even know what ORP is, what it stands for, and what the actual measurement does, and how it can show if the pool water is safe to swim or unsafe. And by the way, that's another issue that the pHin had, is that, my dad had one of these units, and I had one also. And in his, whenever his pH and the chlorine got to a certain point where the ORP was below the level that the pHin recommended, he would get an unsafe warning on the home screen of the app. And I remember he called me one day and saying, hey, my pool says it's unsafe to swim in. And then I was trying to explain to him that that's not true. The ORP reading may indicate that, but it's not really unsafe because of other aspects that you can't calculate with that. So it's really one of those things where it made people not go in their pool because they thought that it was not safe to swim in because the ORP dropped low. And I'm not going to go into detail explaining what the ORP is, but basically one of the main parameters of ORP, or to get a high ORP reading, is the pH level. So if the pH goes to 7.8 or 8.0 or 8.2, which is really common in a lot of pools because they have saltwater generators and water features, and keeping the pH down is very difficult for a lot of pool owners. And besides that, the pHin doesn't do alkalinity, so alkalinity is a major factor in keeping the pH low. And if the alkalinity is 140, 150, the pH will never go below 8 or stay below 8 or 7.8 for a long period of time. And so if the pH is constantly high in the pool, you're going to get an ORP reading that the water is unsafe because the ORP number will be really low in the 400s. Whereas if you have free chlorine in your pool, at 5 or 6 parts per million, and you have pH at 8 or 7.8, even though the water is quote-unquote safe to swim in, with the ORP around 400 or 450, the ORP reading will indicate that it's unsafe to swim in the pool. So the only way to actually keep the fin working to where the ORP is within range is to keep the pH at 7.4 and keep the chlorine level above 5 parts per million, and then you would get a decent ORP reading. And how do I know this? I experimented with my own pool to see how I can get an ORP reading on the fin that was good, and I kept the chlorine level above 5 parts per million and the pH about 7.4, 7.6, and I got a decent ORP reading at that point. And so it's very possible that the fin was a little bit before its time, and the ORP was something that was too foreign for pool owners, pool technicians, and really it's hard to gauge if a pool is safe or unsafe with just the ORP reading. There's more factors to that. The cyanuric acid level is a factor. There's all kinds of different things in the water, but the ORP is acceptable in Europe to determine if the pool is safe to swim in, and the pH is a major factor with the health departments out there. If you do commercial pools, they want the pH, at 7.6, because the belief is that the pH really affects how effective the chlorine is in the pool and how quickly it kills viruses and microorganisms in the pool. And so it's understandable that Hayward kind of got roped into this and thought, with these readings, people are going to just buy these things and they're going to be able to look at the screen and say, hey, the pool is safe to swim in. But I don't think they thought of the factors that people don't know how to balance their pool water, and the fact that getting a decent ORP reading is really difficult because you have to keep the pH really low and have a really good free chlorine reading for that ORP to be above 650, which was one of the levels that you had to maintain it at for the fin to give you that safe reading in the pool, 600 or 650, I can't remember offhand. And I think the $99 subscription was a deal killer. You would have this device that you purchased, and if they didn't have the $99 subscription fee, I think it probably would have lasted longer. But basically, with that fee, every year you got to pay this so that you can see your readings. And the readings, again, were not, all the test factors. If it was everything in your pool, it may be worth $99. And I think truly the fin using their own test strips was one of the things that killed it. Because if a consumer goes to the pool store and they see test strips for $20 for 50 of them, they're going to be scratching their head thinking, wait, I can get these test strips and they'll last all season, and it's $20 to get the readings of my pool, and the fin's charging me $250 for the unit plus $99 a year. So that's $350 for the first year, where these test strips are $20. Right away, the things I talked about earlier, about everyone looking for a bargain or a deal or the best price on something, $20 versus $350, right there, I think that would kill the product. And so they had a kind of a built-in self-destruct with the test strip readings that the app could take with your phone. And I don't think anyone at the Hayward thought about this. And of course, they don't consult people with the right background to tell them, hey, buying this company is really outside the parameters of your business, and you don't have the right people in place to run this. You're an equipment company, and maybe you should stick with equipment. If I was there, I would have told them, look, you make the #1 cleaner with the Hayward Navigator, which a lot of people love and a lot of people hate. You make the second best cleaner in sales with the Pool Vernugan, which you purchased, the Pool Cleaner Aquanaut Phoenix. You make the #1 pool pump back east with the Hayward Super Pump. It's the black pump with the gold motor. I think stick with your products, build them up, make them better. You make really good robotic pool cleaners that are under advertised on the market. The Hayward Tiger Shark. I think you definitely need to work and focus on those components, and don't waste money buying something that's way outside what Hayward represents and what Hayward is supposed to do. So that's what I would have told him if I was in that meeting. And just a little more on the fin before I move on to some alternatives for you. One thing I didn't mention, and I should touch on this, is that the setup for the fin was really difficult. Connecting it to your Wi-Fi was not a 1, 2, 3 step. They made it really complicated, and I mentioned my dad had one. It took him like 2 or 3 days to connect it. He had to email tech support. And for myself, it was really difficult because I have a 5G router, and so the only way I was able to connect the fin to mine, I kind of figured it out myself because I'm a little bit tech savvy. I renamed my router to get rid of that 5G name so that it would be able to discover it, and sure enough it did. But it was 24 hours for me till I kind of brainstormed to figure out why I wasn't finding my router in the menu. So those are all issues that should have been addressed before Hayward purchased it. They should have had the manufacturer fine-tune how it connects so that when they got the device, they wouldn't have all these tech support questions and people that couldn't connect to it to begin with, leaving bad reviews and that for it. The other thing I want to do is read the letter that Phin sent me saying my device is going to be turned off December 20th, which is today. And it's kind of a cold, dry kind of thing. I'm not sure who wrote this thing, but if you have this device and you're paying a subscription and you paid money for it, to get this kind of email is kind of annoying because there's nothing in there explaining why they're turning it off. And it's just kind of like the last thing they say, and I'll read it to you, which I think is kind of like a slap in the face to the consumer. It says, "What should I do with my Phin?" It says, "We recommend recycling your floating Phin monitor. Best Buy stores accept most electronic devices, and you can search for a local drop-off location at Recycle Nation. Again, thank you for your support. Please contact customer care with any questions." So they turned your Phin into a paperweight, and they tell you to take it to Best Buy to recycle it. Kind of ironic taking it to an electronics store that's still in business. But that goes to say that they dropped the ball on the Phin, marketing it, and then they dropped the ball on telling users, which probably are about 500,000 users, or maybe more, that their device is a paperweight. So a lot of things wrong here with the Phin, and a really wrong ending with the Phin. So let me go over some alternatives for the Phin, and the products that I think are a really good product as far as a smart monitor. The Blue Riot by Fluidra, I think, would be your top replacement for the Phin. It does pH, ORP, and it does conductivity, which is the salinity basically, and the temperature of the pool. So it'll give you a salinity reading. The app translates the conductivity to a salinity reading, and you're going to be able to tell the salt level in your pool, which is a good feature to have, especially since there are so many saltwater pools out there. If you're looking for the Blue Riot, you can Google it. You just type in blue and then RIIOT. So there's two I's in Riot, Blue Riot. And they have a subscription plan, and they have it where you don't need the subscription, which is a good feature. So you buy the unit, and if you want the subscription, it'll give you some more information like historical data, trends, and other things. If you don't have the subscription, it'll give you the water temperature, pH, ORP, and conductivity. It provides chemical recommendations, and it's Bluetooth. And if you have the Platinum one, it's Bluetooth with Wi-Fi. So you can subscribe, or you don't need to. And I think giving the consumer the option to either have a subscription where you get more information and you get more connectivity or not is something that Phin should have offered before they went out. And the price point is less than the Phin, I believe, for the Blue Riot. I have one of these devices. Actually, the battery recently died after a year and a half, so I have to contact them and see if I can get a new unit sent out. But other than that, the ORP reading, the pH, and the salinity were pretty much spot on in this unit. And I like the unit. I think as far as those readings, again, I mentioned the issue with ORP. However, the Blue Riot didn't give you like a warning saying the pool is unsafe. You just saw the ORP was low in the pool, which is fine, especially if you know that the ORP is again tied to the pH in the pool. And if the free chlorine was high in the pool, I knew that it was still safe to swim in, even with a lower ORP. So ORP is not something that I'm against. I just think that having that warning that the Phin had, that the pool was unsafe, was kind of a killer for the Phin device itself. The next smart monitor that I've tested, and I'm still testing, is the Sutro. Now this one is kind of a premium price point. It's $500 for the initial unit itself, and then you're going to pay $29 a month or $39 a month for it, and that price includes getting a cartridge sent to you. Now what I like about the Sutro is it does your free chlorine, your pH, and your alkalinity. The big three readings in the pool, plus water temperature. And the reason why it does free chlorine and alkalinity and pH in that respect is that it uses reagents from Lamott. So it'll use phenol red for the pH, it'll use an alkalinity reagent, and it'll use a reagent for the free chlorine. So the $29 and $39 isn't quote-unquote a subscription, I guess. In a way, it's just the cartridge you're purchasing, because that cartridge lasts for about 30 days, and it does 3 readings per day. I find the Sutro to be extremely accurate. In fact, I just did a video where I had 3 Sutros floating in my pool, and then I compare those readings with each other, and then I compare it with the Color Q2X Pro 9, and the margin of error is within the limits. And what I like about the Sutro, and what I think you're going to like about it, is the fact that it gives you your free chlorine, your pH and alkalinity, since it uses reagents. Now, you may not like the price point, and that's something that they're working on, and they have different pricing models before, and they're refining that. I think Sutro is here to stay because it uses those parameters, and I don't think either the Blue Riot or the Sutro are going to pack up and leave anytime soon. I can't make predictions in the industry that are rock solid, but I think a lot of them are learning their lesson from the pHin device and the things that went wrong with that. Sutro is an independent company, and I think that's one thing in their benefit, whereas also the Blue Riot is owned by this gigantic pool company, Floridra, which is the biggest pool company in the world. So for them to discontinue it, I don't think that's going to happen. I just think Hayward was losing money. They were bleeding money with the pHin. Sales were not what they expected, and they never recovered the money they invested in it. And so they just kind of pulled the plug on it unceremoniously with an email to customers 2 weeks before they're going to, or a week and a half before they're going to pull the plug on it. I actually got my email December 10th, so they give you, 10 days notice that they're going to pull the plug, not even a month notice. Although I heard that pHin was going out a couple months ago, I finally got the notice in the inbox 10 days ago with everyone else, all their customers received it at that point. So there are many lessons to learn from the pHin, from the consumer all the way up to the corporations. I think every good corporation, they should have on their staff people that read books, and I recommended at the beginning the book Good to Great. I suggest everyone at Hayward picks up a copy of this book and they read about acquiring companies just to acquire them and how that's not how you build up a company and make it better. And I think for the consumer, realize that a lot of the products in the industry come and go, and it's kind of part of the industry. Not everything is going to be successful. Not everything's going to last 30 or 40 years. And if you're going to buy something, there's a chance that it could go out either by fault of the company or by acquisitions and sales and mergers. Aquabot is a good example of that. Most of their cleaners have disappeared from the merger for different reasons. And so, the pool industry is kind of fluid. It kind of ebbs and flows, and products will come and go. So don't get too upset when a product is canceled, but I think how they cancel it may make you upset. And there are options for smart monitors out there with successful companies that are still in business and have a good model. I think the Floridra Blue Riot has a good model with the non-subscription. You can still see the readings of your device, or the subscription plan if you wanted to pay for more accessibility and more features. And with the Sutro, with the free chlorine, pH, and alkalinity, which I think are more acceptable for us here stateside. Everyone knows what free chlorine is, pH, and alkalinity, but the Sutro device is more expensive compared to the Blue Riot. And there's probably another half a dozen other smart monitors out there that you can purchase and use. And I really like the smart monitors. I've had all three in my pool at once: the pHin, the Blue Riot, and the Sutro. And the Sutro has outlasted all of them. Ironically, it's the more expensive one, and it has a battery that you can actually charge in your house and replace, which I think is one of the things that's going to make the Sutro superior. Plus, it doesn't use ORP or pH sensors. It uses reagents. So those are all factors. The Blue Riot has a lifetime guarantee with the subscription, so you can get a new unit sent to you if the battery were to die in there. So don't worry about that. I just think that as the smart monitors get better, the technology is going to get better, and they're going to be more in use for people. The regular pool owner is going to buy one and put it in their pool to eliminate a lot of the weekly test factors they have to do. And the pool pro is going to start recommending them for customers, and it's going to make their job easier. So the market for the smart monitor is just emerging, I think, in 2021-22. It's not going away, and there's going to be bumps on the road like the pHin, which I like the device, but there were some drawbacks like I mentioned here. So don't give up on smart monitors. They're going to be here for a long time, and they're an emerging market in the pool industry. Even if one has gone to the wayside, there's still other ones that are really good, and I would recommend, again, the Blue Riot or the Sutro if you're coming off of a pHin monitor and want to go with another smart monitor. Or if you're looking at smart monitors and you wanted to get one, those would be my recommendations right now. And if you're looking for the other podcasts I have recorded, go to my website, swimmingprolearning.com, Click on the podcast icon, that'll take you to a drop-down menu. And if you're in the industry and want to enhance your business, check out my coaching program at poolguycoaching.com. Thanks for listening to this podcast. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless. Pool Service Pro. Open a Leslie's wholesale account today and receive wholesale pricing on products you use every day. Leslie's Pool Supply offers convenient locations that are open 7 days a week. Another great benefit of opening a Leslie's wholesale account is Leslie's referral program. Get referred to a customer looking for weekly pool service. Save time and money and grow your pool service route and become a Leslie's Pro.